Let me ask you something. Have you ever been with a guy where you just knew he wanted to take things further, but instead of saying it outright, he dressed it up in a nice little package of words? He didn't come out and say, "I want to sleep with you," because that would sound way too forward, way too obvious. Instead, he wrapped it in phrases that made it sound innocent, thoughtful, even romantic. See, men are clever when it comes to this. They know if they make it too obvious, they'll look desperate. They'll look like they're just in it for sex. And most men don't want to appear that way, because if they do, it can ruin their chances completely. So instead, they drop these little hints. They use certain lines that create the illusion of being casual, sweet, or even protective. But if you read between the lines, the message is clear. He wants to get you into bed. Now, here's the tricky part. If you don't know how to decode these signals, you might mistake his words for genuine care, deep emotional interest, or even commitment. That's how so many women end up giving more than they intended, because they believe the words without seeing the hidden intention behind them. But here's where you take your power back. Once you understand the psychology behind what men say in these moments, you'll never be left guessing again. You'll know when a guy is being authentic and when he's using carefully chosen words to make his move without sounding easy. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 things men say when they want to sleep with you, but don't want it to look that way. And once you see these patterns, you'll never be fooled again. When a man says to you, "Why should hang out at my place? It's more chill," you might hear it as something innocent, almost thoughtful. It sounds like he's inviting you into a more relaxed, cozy environment where you can actually talk and enjoy each other's company without the noise and distraction of the outside world. And of course, that sounds tempting. After all, who doesn't love the idea of curling up on a couch, maybe sharing a glass of wine, watching something together, and actually getting to know each other in peace? But here's the truth, that phrase is rarely just about comfort. It's often a subtle, crafted way of fast-tracking intimacy. Because here's what men know: if they invite you straight up with, "Hey, want to come over?" it can sound too blunt, too obvious. It signals exactly what they're after, and many women will immediately raise their guard. But when he frames it as, "It's more chill at my place," or "We can hear each other better without the loud music," or "I prefer more private spaces," he's softening the real message. What he's really saying is, if we're at my place, there's more opportunity for physical closeness. Think about the environment difference. In a cafe, a restaurant, or even on a walk, there are natural boundaries. There's a table between you. There are people around. There's structure to the date. But at his place, the boundaries disappear. Suddenly there's a couch where you can sit close. There's no waiter coming to interrupt the flow. There's music he chooses, lighting he sets, and an environment completely in his control. That shift in setting opens the door for intimacy to happen much faster, because the physical setup makes it so much easier. Now, is this always a bad thing? Not necessarily. Sometimes a guy genuinely just prefers the peace and privacy of his own space. Sometimes he may honestly want a deeper conversation where you're not shouting over background noise. But let's be real, most of the time, this line is code. It's a polite invitation into a space where he can escalate things without looking like he's pushing too hard. And here's the clever part: by making it sound casual, "Let's just hang out, it's more chill," he avoids looking like he's trying too hard. He frames it as if he's doing you a favor, as if he's making the date better for you. That's the psychology at play here. He doesn't want you to feel like he's pressuring you, so he wraps the intention in something that sounds considerate. The real question is, how do you handle it when a man uses this line? The answer depends on what you're looking for. If you're okay with things progressing faster, then sure, maybe that's not a problem. But if you want to test whether his interest in you is genuine beyond physical attraction, this is your opportunity to set boundaries. You can say something like, "I'd rather hang out somewhere else first, then maybe we'll do your place another time." A man who is genuinely interested in you won't vanish when you put that boundary in place. He'll adapt. He'll suggest an alternative. He'll show you that he values your comfort more than rushing into intimacy. On the other hand, if his reaction is disappointment, pushback, or suddenly pulling away, then that's all the clarity you need. His interest wasn't about you. It was about the outcome he hoped for that night. So the next time you hear a man say, "We should hang out at my place, it's more chill," don't just hear the words. Hear the intention behind them. Remember, environments matter. The place he's choosing tells you just as much as the words coming out of his mouth. And you ladies get to decide if you want to step into that environment or keep the date on your terms. When a man says to you, "You can crash here if you're tired," on the surface it sounds thoughtful, almost protective. It sounds like he's looking out for your well-being. Maybe it's late, maybe you've had a drink, maybe you live far away, and he's presenting himself as the gentleman who's saying, "Don't worry, I've got you covered." It feels safe. Feels like he's giving you an option so you don't have to stress about getting home. But here's the part we have to talk about honestly more often than not. This isn't just kindness, it's strategy, because men know something very important. The moment you stay the night, even under the most innocent circumstances, the chances of things getting physical increase dramatically. And he knows that. He knows if he offers you his place as a refuge, there's a built-in opportunity for closeness. Suddenly, instead of a date that ends with a hug or a kiss at the door, you're in his bedroom, you're in his space, and the rules are different. Now, I'm not saying every guy who offers you to stay over is scheming. Some men genuinely do worry about your safety. Some men genuinely don't want you traveling home at 2 a.m. or paying for an expensive ride. But you have to notice the difference between genuine care and a subtle way of testing the waters. Because here's the cleverness in the phrase, "You can crash here if you're tired." It makes it sound like you're the one making the choice. He's not saying, "Stay over because I want you here." He's saying, "If you want, the option is here for you." And that little twist makes it feel less like pressure, more like a gift. But let's decode it further. If you accept, the natural next step is you changing into something comfortable, lying on his bed or his couch, and both of you being in the most intimate environment possible. That's where lines blur. That's where innocent crashing turns into cuddling, and cuddling often turns into something more. So while the line sounds harmless, the setting it creates is the perfect backdrop for intimacy to escalate. Here's where your awareness becomes powerful. If you're okay with things progressing, then fine, you go in with clarity. But if you're looking for commitment, for real effort, for a man who's in this for more than a quick win, then this is a moment to pause. Because his reaction to you saying, "No thanks, I'll head home," will tell you everything you need to know. If he's genuine, he won't flinch. He'll maybe even insist on getting you a ride, making sure you're safe, walking you to your car. That shows that his concern for you is bigger than his desire in that moment. But if his entire energy drops, if he suddenly seems cold or uninterested, then what he wanted was never about your safety. It was about the opportunity for sex. Remember this, the men who really want to be with you in the long term don't mind waiting. They don't need to manufacture situations where things can accidentally happen. They're willing to earn intimacy with consistency, not shortcuts. So the next time you hear a man say, "You can crash here if you're tired," smile, appreciate the offer, but look deeper. Ask yourself, is this genuine care, or is this a carefully disguised invitation for more? Your answer to that question will save you from giving your time and energy to someone whose real interest ends the moment you step out of his door. When a man says, "I'll give you a massage, you look stressed," it almost sounds like the sweetest, most generous thing. He's noticing you, he's offering to take care of you, and on the surface, it feels like an act of kindness. Who doesn't love the idea of someone easing their tension after a long day? But let's be real here. 9 times out of 10, this isn't just about helping your sore shoulders. This is about creating an opportunity for physical intimacy under the disguise of being thoughtful. Men know that physical touch is the bridge. It's the easiest, most natural way to transition from casual to intimate. And the genius of the massage offer is that it feels safe. It doesn't come across like he's trying to make a move. Instead, it's framed as him doing something for you. Think about it. When he says, "You look stressed, let me take care of that," he positions himself as the giver, not the taker. It makes you feel like you're being cared for, like he's paying attention to your needs. But beneath that sweet exterior is the reality that massages, by their very nature, involve closeness, skin to skin contact, and the lowering of boundaries. Let's break down why this is so effective. First, a massage usually happens in a private setting, his couch, his bed, maybe with dimmed lights or music playing. Already the environment shifts into one that's intimate. Second, the physical act of touch releases oxytocin, a bonding hormone that makes you feel closer to the person touching you. Third, it lowers defenses because while you're on the receiving end of a massage, you're vulnerable, relaxed, and not in control of the pace. That's exactly why so many men use this line. It doesn't sound sexual, but it sets the stage for sex to happen almost effortlessly. Now, to be fair, not every man who offers a massage is plotting something. Sometimes a guy genuinely wants to make you feel good, to show you affection, to connect in a loving way. But let's not ignore the pattern here. A massage is one of the oldest tricks in the book for men who want to escalate things without being obvious. It's like a socially acceptable excuse for touching your body in ways that wouldn't otherwise be appropriate on a first or second date. Here's what you need to pay attention to: his intention. Does he offer a massage casually and then respect your response if you say no? Or does he push, insisting that you need it or that you'll thank him later? That difference is huge. A man who respects your boundaries will offer once, and if you decline, he'll drop it without making you feel guilty. A man who keeps pushing is showing you that the massage isn't about you at all. It's about him getting what he wants. So what's the takeaway here? When you hear, "let me give you a massage," recognize it for what it usually is: a carefully disguised move toward intimacy. If you're okay with that, then fine, you go into it with clarity. But if you're not ready, or if you want to see whether this guy is genuinely interested in more than just physical closeness, this is the perfect opportunity to set a boundary. You might say, "that's sweet, but I'm good," and then watch what happens next. His reaction will tell you everything. If he shrugs it off and continues enjoying the evening, you know he's capable of respecting limits. But if he suddenly loses interest, that tells you his motivation wasn't about easing your stress. It was about satisfying his own. So the next time you hear those magic words, "you look stressed, let me give you a massage," don't just melt into the moment. Pay attention, because what feels like an innocent act of kindness may just be one of the most classic plays in the dating playbook. When a man looks at you and says, "I feel like we really connect on a deeper level," it can sound powerful, even magical, because let's be honest, every woman wants to feel seen, understood, and special. Those words suggest that what he feels with you isn't casual, it isn't surface level, it isn't just physical. It suggests something deeper, more meaningful, something rare. And for many women, hearing that can lower defenses immediately, because it taps into one of the deepest desires we all have, to be chosen for who we truly are. But here's where you need to be careful. Men know that emotional intimacy is the gateway to physical intimacy. They know that if they can make you feel like the bond you share is unique, that you're not just another woman, but the woman, then you're more likely to let your guard down. So when a man says, "we really connect on a deeper level," it may very well be true, but sometimes it's also a strategic phrase to accelerate closeness without having to prove consistency over time. Think about how powerful those words are in the moment. You're on a date, maybe sitting close, maybe sharing something vulnerable about your past, your dreams, or your struggles, and he looks at you with intensity and says, "Whoa, I've never been able to talk to someone like this before. I feel such a deep connection with you." That kind of statement makes you feel chosen, different, even destined. But here's the catch: those words can be spoken without action to back them up, because real connection isn't proven in a single night. Real connection isn't just words, it's consistency, it's investment, it's effort over time. Anyone can say they feel something deep, but the real question is, does he continue to show it in the days, weeks, and months after? Or does he only bring up this deep connection in the exact moments when intimacy is on the table? And here's another thing: men use this line to shift the context. If you're hesitant about moving too fast, telling you that he feels something rare with you makes you think, maybe this is different. Maybe I don't have to hold back. It's reassurance wrapped in romance. But you need to ask yourself, is this reassurance genuine, or is it just a tool? Now, don't get me wrong, some men truly mean it. Some men really are struck by how easy it feels to talk to you, how aligned your values are, how natural the chemistry is. But the point isn't to dismiss the words, it's to test them. How? By watching what comes after. Does he call when he says he will? Does he make an effort to see you outside of late night scenarios? Does he introduce you to his world, his friends, his life? Those are the actions that confirm depth. If he says, "we'll have this deep connection," but then only texts you at 11 p.m. or disappears for days and reappears with the same line, that's not depth. That's a tactic. That's a phrase designed to disarm you, to bypass your guard, and to make you confuse words for reality. So the next time a man tells you, "I feel like we really connect on a deeper level," enjoy the moment, but stay grounded. Don't let the words alone dictate your choices. Let the actions prove whether that deep connection is real or just a beautifully wrapped excuse to get closer physically. Because the truth is, genuine connection doesn't need to be rushed. It doesn't rely on convincing words. It shows up over and over again in how someone treats you. Words can be powerful, but actions are undeniable. When a man looks at you and says, "I don't normally do this," you have to pause and really hear what's being implied. On the surface, it sounds like a confession, like he's breaking one of his own rules for you. It makes you feel like you're the exception, the one woman who has managed to draw out something from him that no one else can. It creates the illusion that what's happening is rare, special, almost fated. And that's exactly why it works. This phrase is one of the oldest lines in the book, and yet it's still being used today because it plays directly into our psychology. Men know that women don't want to feel like just another stop on the conveyor belt of his dating life. They know you want to feel unique. So when he says, "I don't normally do this," he's not just making himself look like he has higher standards. He's making you feel like you're the one who made him break them. Now let's unpack why this phrase is so powerful. If a guy says, "I don't normally do this," he's trying to remove the stigma of rushing into something physical. He's trying to distance himself from the image of being easy or promiscuous. It's like he's saying, "Normally, I would never move this quickly, but with you, it feels different." And if you buy into that narrative, you might think, wow, maybe I should let this happen. Maybe this really is different. That's the trick. But here's the danger anyone can say, "I don't normally do this." There's no way to verify it in the moment. It's not a fact, it's a performance. And sometimes it's rehearsed. Many men have used this exact line multiple times on multiple women, and every time it lands because it's designed to lower defenses. It's designed to make you feel like intimacy in this situation is special, not casual. Now, to be fair, sometimes a man really does mean it. Sometimes he really does feel like the chemistry with you is unlike anything he's felt in a long time. But again, the way you tell the difference is not by listening to the words, it's by watching the consistency. Does he treat you like you're special the next day? Does he show up with the same energy and care when there's no physical opportunity on the table? Does he continue to invest when the novelty wears off? Because if "I don't normally do this" is genuine, it won't be a one-night declaration. It'll be a truth that plays out over time. If it's just a line, though, you'll know soon enough, because the moment he gets what he wanted, the magic of that phrase evaporates. Suddenly, you're no longer the exception. You're just another story in his dating history. That's why it's so important to not let those words cloud your judgment. So here's the practical advice when a man says, "I don't normally do this." Smile, enjoy the compliment, but don't build your decisions around it. Instead, tell yourself, let me see if his actions match his words. Let time reveal whether he really meant it or whether it was just a way to fast-track intimacy. Because here's the truth, men who are truly serious about you don't need to convince you with clever phrases. They show you through patience, respect, and consistency. They don't need to explain how rare the moment is. They prove it by treating you as rare every single day. So don't let "I don't normally do this" be the reason you hand over your trust or your body. Let his actions, not his lines, be the proof that you're genuinely different. Here's the thing, ladies, every single one of these phrases, "Let's hang out at my place," it's more chill. You can crash here if you're tired. "I'll give you a massage. You look stressed. We really connect on a deeper level." "I don't normally do this." On their own, they don't necessarily make a man bad. They don't always mean he's being manipulative, and they don't always mean his intentions are purely physical. But what they do mean is that men have learned the language that makes women feel safe, desired, and special, all while creating a path to intimacy without having to sound too forward. These phrases are like keys. They unlock doors. And once you know what those keys are, you can choose whether or not to let someone through. That's the real power here. It's not about distrusting men. It's not about assuming the worst. It's about awareness, because when you're aware, you're in control. You're no longer the person who says later, "I don't know what happened. I thought it meant something more." You're the woman who says, "I knew what was happening and I chose on my terms." The truth is, men who are serious about you will never disappear just because you didn't take the bait in the moment. The man who values you won't mind waiting. He won't mind proving that his connection, his affection, his care goes beyond words and clever phrases. That's the guy worth your time. That's the man who deserves your energy, your trust, and eventually your intimacy. So the next time you hear one of these lines, instead of melting under the words, take a breath, smile, and ask yourself, does his behavior back this up? Or is this just talk? If his actions match his words, you've got someone worth exploring. If not, you've just saved yourself from investing in someone who was only after one thing. Now, here's my call to you. If this video gave you clarity, if you found yourself thinking, wow, I've heard one of these lines before and never realized what it actually meant, then do me a favor. Hit that like button because it tells me this content is resonating with you. Subscribe if you haven't already, because every week I bring you new insights to help you navigate love, dating, and relationships with confidence. And share this video with a friend, because we all have that one friend who falls for smooth lines, and sometimes a little awareness is exactly what she needs. At the end of the day, remember this: it's not about catching men out. It's about holding yourself to a higher standard. It's about valuing your time, your body, your heart, enough to make sure the man you choose has proven himself worthy of it. You deserve that. You've always deserved that. And if you want to go deeper on how to tell if a man's interest is real and how to inspire genuine commitment instead of casual interest, check out the links below. I've got more resources waiting for you there. Until next time, ladies, take back your power, trust your intuition, and never settle for words when what you truly deserve is consistent, loving action.